All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And this is going to be a really awesome episode today. I've been looking forward to this one. And first of all, Ron, I want to welcome you to the show today. We got Ron LeGrand with us. And Ron, I'm just stoked to have you here today and be having a conversation with you. So thank you.
Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. And this is really cool because Ron and I met years ago. I don't know which seminar it would have been, but I do know that I went to my first Dan Kennedy only seminar in 1999 was the first time I ever went to a Dan seminar.
I
And
hired Dan Kennedy in 1991.
you did, huh? Okay, so you'd been into his world already 8 years before I
Oh,
got there and stuff.
I only missed a couple of years of his Platinum Inner Circle from all that time, starting in
Okay. Okay.
1991.
And I can still remember that at the Embassy Suites down there on Camelback in Arizona and stuff. And those seminars that Dan ran, it would start at like 8 in the morning and go till 11 or midnight or so. And Dan's whole thing was, y'all can sleep when you get home, man. He's like, we got work to do.
He was right.
And I remember one event where both you and Bill Glazer were at the table right in front of me, which
Yeah.
I was in the back of the room, but you and Bill were sitting right next to each other at the table right in front of me at that event and stuff. And I can still remember how you guys were messing with Dan from your seats. Just the dialogue that went on back and forth between you guys. Very
Well,
entertaining.
that was half the fun was messing with Dan.
And most recently, you and I got reconnected through Jay Connor, and
Sure.
I got to interview Jay for the podcast, and he honored you as being one of the most valuable people in his life. And when I found that out, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you knew Ron. Let me tell you a story about Ron." And so I told him about investing in your speakers and promoters boot camp years ago at a Dan Kennedy event, and that I never even did go through the promoters side of it. I just went through the speakers part of it, and
You
I
did.
used that to create a presentation that went on to sell $16.1 million worth of a training that I had created. And so Ron, that was a pretty doggone good investment back then. And so,
I thought you still want a refund or something, Kevin.
nah, we're good. We're good.
Okay, that's good.
And so I am just honored to, just be having this conversation with you today because, we launched this podcast 3 years ago. We've released almost 300 episodes now, and it has been hands down one of the most rewarding and impactful things I have done in my 30 years as an entrepreneur. And I just think it's absolutely awesome that I get to interview you for the show today. And
Well, same thing here. I mean, I've been doing podcasts for I don't know how many years. Got to be hundreds of episodes, but I learn an awful lot from the people I interview
yeah.
on various different subjects.
Amen. Absolutely. Yeah, you learn a lot getting to host a podcast for
Yeah.
sure. And so, well, what I would like to do is I want to start off by turning over to you, Ron, so we can set a little bit of context for our listeners and stuff. And I want you to be able to share a little bit about, what you do. You mentioned real estate. Man, I don't, you've been in real estate for how many years? I know it's over 40 plus years.
43.
43 years you have been in real estate and helping a whole lot of other people in that
Yeah.
time make a lot of money in real estate and
Yeah.
stuff. And so I want you to share, just more about, what you do, who you serve, what inspires you most about the work that you get to do through your business. We'll start there, Ron.
Well, what inspires me is still have the ability to teach, which is about all I do anymore. So when my company is kind of running on its own, I'm in front of the camera, always generating leads and teaching something and creating courses and so forth. We cater to people who want to learn how to buy real estate, or sell real estate, those not as agents. but as investors.
Mhm.
I've been doing that since 1987.
Wow.
And shortly after that, I met Dan. He wrote a sales letter for me. It wasn't even cheap back then. So prices have gone up since then. But I spent my life teaching other people how to do what I still do to this very day. Created hundreds of millionaires, and thousands of people's lives have turned because they got a hold of this thing called real estate and found out there was another way to actually go wealthy in this world other than swap dollars for dollars.
Yeah.
And continue to do that. Concept's always improving and always changing, I might add, especially this AI nowadays. And we incorporate that in everything we do. And I don't go out on the road as much as I used to. I sold my last airplane last year and staying home more and still do a 4-day boot camp once a month. Right here in Jacksonville, about 8 of them, and a couple of other cities. A couple of them are virtual. And then, we have all kinds of education, mentoring, and we got a program called Masters, which is pretty much all inclusive. And then our main program is a 4-day boot camp called Quick Turn Real Estate School, and I still teach it as long as I am still able. And I just enjoy teaching that. I like to see people's eyes light up when they see another way. Unfortunately, most of Americans will never know what we know. They'll never know how you can get into real estate and make a living and change your life. And then, what else? Look at Jay. Jay's a great example. He came to my boot camp in 2009. He went home and he made $1 million his first year. Hasn't made less than $1 million since.
Wow.
In the last 2 years, he's been popping $2.5 million on 30 houses a year. That's all he does. 30 houses a year. And of course, he doesn't do much. You talk to him, he'll claim he, does a lot of work. And I think what he needs is he thinks about real estate a lot.
I'm gonna make sure he hears
work.
this, Ron.
But from that, stemmed a course and company on private lending, which is what he got good at real quick. Yeah, and he asked me one day, what's next? And I told him, since you do private lending, so I started that 7-figure information marketing business. So he's a good example of someone who starts broke because he cut him off at the bank, like they did most everybody else.
Yep.
Got a hold of real estate real quick, got it on autopilot, created systems, and then got into the private money industry. Frankly, I was teaching it. I just gave them my private money course and went home and created another one. So he's been doing private money ever since.
Yeah.
He said every single boot camp I do now, I think he's hit 140 since
wow.
I must have been in 2011 or something like that. Okay. We have a good time together. We both enjoy helping people and enjoy each other's company as well. So he's one of those very few real friends that you'll find in this life.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious. So 43 years, you've got some serious longevity in the real estate field.
Does that mean I mean I'm old, or what does that mean exactly?
No, I'm not going to call you old. Heck, you know what? I'd be calling myself out too, Ron. I don't feel old. And so I'm curious. So what have been the biggest shift or two that you've seen in the real estate industry in the 43 years that you've been doing what you do?
Well, I've seen 6 different recession times, 2008 being the worst. And people ask me all the time when we're going to have another recession. And I say, well, we're going to have one. I just don't know when, neither does anybody else on this planet. And honestly, what I tell them is, instead of worrying about a recession, why don't you go home and take care of your house? Because you can't do anything about what's going on in the White House. Get your own cash flow going. And then when another recession comes, and maybe you'll be in a position to help some other people through that don't know what you know. So idea is to get your own home fixed first, and that means plenty of cash flow, money in the bank, and don't have to worry about doing anything to make a living. And then, of course, do as much of that as possible tax-free, using the tax-free entities that the IRS is allowing us to use. So, and then exchange as well. I got a 1 house to 3 house exchange program that I'm not going to go into it right now, but most people have no idea about it. And it'll quadruple your wealth really on one exchange. So much to learn. And I got to tell you, Kevin, the real estate part is the easy part. People
Okay.
come to us from all walks of life, carrying all kinds of baggage, uh, guilt, and series of failures and whatever else. And the hardest part is to get them to truly believe they have the ability to create a seven-figure income and certainly a high six-figure income very quickly. So we have to change their attitude about real estate, which ain't hard. We got to change their attitude about making money and try to help them prove to themselves that they are worthy of making money. And of course, when you get in groups like mine and hang around other people with that same issue, pretty soon, I can do this. I know I can do this. And
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah.
Can.
And that's a very real thing, isn't it, Ron? The
Yeah.
people, like you said, feel that they're worthy of being able to make money,
Yeah. If they haven't made any in their life, or
Yeah.
they made it once.
Yeah.
That's a it's self-esteem issue mostly, but frankly, that's an easy thing to fix, self-esteem, if one wants to fix it.
Yeah.
I remember when I started doing business way back, I had terrible self-esteem. My eyes moved back and forth, and I wore Coke bottle glasses back then, couldn't see what everybody else could see, and it picked on me, and I finally figured out the way I conquered that was a series of small successes. Small successes, not one jump from the third to the penthouse. And then after a while, confidence level went up. I got into real estate in 1982. I did my first deal in 3 weeks.
First deal in 3 weeks. Wow.
They made me $3,000. That
Uh-huh.
was like a million to me back then,
Absolute. Well, it was in 82, wasn't it?
Might have been, I don't know. I don't have that chart. But it all started with that seminar to me, and Robert Allen was the creator of that seminar. And on the first preview I went to, Carlton Sheets was the preview.
I remember Carlton Sheets.
Yep. Which put me in that 2-day seminar. And I came out of there and did a deal. And then I started doing another. I quit my job almost immediately, but
Wow.
I just kept going when most people stopped.
Yeah.
Of course, when you broke, I had much choice. I know I could always go get another job. But real estate lit me up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell the story, Kevin. How close I came not going to that seminar because Dallas was on TV with JRU, and he was my hero back then. I didn't want to miss JR. Compelled me to go to that seminar. I swear, I don't know. I knew it was a scam, had to be a scam. Nobody can make money, without credit.
Right.
Someone told me to go. And then I got into the 2-day seminar, and that one certainly changed my life. I came out of there on fire.
Wow.
Kept on doing it. Where most people can go home and get back to wherever they came from,
Get back to watching Dallas.
Yeah. Yeah, they didn't have DVR. I couldn't tape it, back then. I didn't even have the internet back then.
No.
I just went out and kept doing it. Of course, everybody was telling me I was crazy, and it was telling me it wouldn't work here, it wouldn't work now, real estate's a scam. Fortunately, I listened to all of them and took none of it in. I learned a long time ago, be careful to whom you listen.
That's right.
The whole world is full of crap. I got a T-shirt that says that. Yeah, I sent one I tell you the one I sent to Don Trump.
No.
A T-shirt, it says, "You can't drain the swamp without pissing off the alligators."
That's right. That's good. That's good.
I just thought of that one day, and I don't think he ever got it. Kept it, so I probably figured it was poison or something. I don't know.
That's good. That's good. So, well, I'm sure there's probably some folks listening to this now going, man, maybe I should find out more about what Ron's doing and stuff. And we'll make sure we circle back around to that and stuff too. But I want to keep this conversation going, and I want to switch gears just a little bit. So I'm going to ask the question around relationships for the benefit of our listeners. And so, Ron, have you ever been introduced to a person or persons who completely changed the course of your life or your business, so much so that much of what you have today would not have been possible if not for this person or person's not. And I know you already mentioned Carlton and stuff. And man, that brings back memories because I remember watching him on late night TV and stuff, and
Answer your question is yes. His name was Dan Kennedy.
mhm. So
Dan Kennedy.
tell us about that. How did that
Well,
happen?
because of what he taught me about marketing, he's made us, you know, more money than anything anybody else in my life has done. I mean, I had a lot of real estate teachers, but nobody that could do what Dan taught me, and it affects everything you do to make a difference what business you're in. And it took me a while to figure that out. So again, I don't know how many times I went to his meeting and came home and got $1 million idea out of it. And I had to get clear to Cleveland for crying out loud. I mean, if you're going to go to Cleveland, you want something bad, I guess. But I ain't been up there during the winter. But no, I don't have one particular mentor throughout my life. I got a bunch of them. Of course, when I was coming up, there wasn't really any one mentor. You have a piece here, you have a piece there, and you try to put it all together and pull you in all kinds of different directions. Of course, the same thing has happened today. Everybody's out there chasing the shiny objects today. I try to keep them on focus. Our system is so simple right now. It's never been easier in my entire life to buy houses than it is right now because everything is automated. Everything.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
even the closings now are all virtual, even if you're in the same city. And everything we do, somebody's invented something to make it easier. So we implement that into our training as well. And I'll tell you, it's a extremely part-time job.
Okay.
Jay Connor. I mean, he says he works about 10 hours a week. So
Yes, he did say that, about 10 hours a
I
week.
think it's closer to 5. So
You're okay.
just imagine what he's doing and has done working that small amount. And the normal American, would they believe that? No way.
The normal American can't even comprehend that, Ron.
Well, we got to. Well, I didn't believe it either when I went, but when I went, I knew it was true.
Mhm.
Once you get that past that point, man, just get, education is totally worthless without implementation.
Yeah.
And people forget that. They run across the first roadblock and they quit and start looking for something else. In my case, they come back 20 years later. But what they missed during all that time, I don't know. But we have systemized the thing so easy today that truly you can run the business from your desk in a different city or a different state.
Yeah. Wow. So how did you find out about Dan?
I think I went to a Gary Halbert seminar in the Keys.
Okay.
Dan was speaking there. And it wasn't very long after that, I hired him to copyright 2 pieces for me.
Okay.
And then of course, I joined his inner circle in 1995. We called it the Platinum Group. And I think that was 2 years. In the past, I don't know what year he stopped. I can't remember that. Do you?
I don't remember what year he quit it. No,
I don't either.
No.
It was about 205, 206, or maybe even a little later than that. I don't know. But
Okay.
I learned so much. I used to take 2 or 3 of my staff up there every single time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go to any seminar without taking staff.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a master delegator and everything I pick up is delegated to them before I leave.
Yeah.
And another trait that I had to learn the hard way, man. Macho man, back when I started, I had to do everything myself and did it that way for about 2 years. And bought a ton of houses during those 2 years. Finally, I hired my 16-year-old daughter because she worked cheap. She was my secretary. Listen, I got to tell you, I remember going on vacation 1 week and I had to leave her in charge.
Okay.
I come back, start all over. Yeah. I knew she was going to destroy the company.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I came back, everything was smooth. And then I got to thinking to myself, what's she need me for? Over the years, I learned a valuable lesson. There's not one damn thing you do in your business that somebody can't, like, you can't relate to somebody else. Not one.
Yeah.
And I tell people just go through life and never learn that. And that's too bad. Because if you're in the minutia all day, every day, and you're doing all this little crap and putting out one problem, here comes another one. and interrupting everything you do. I mean, where are you going to find time to actually enjoy life?
Yeah.
It's time off to take trips or whatever you want to do. I'm going on a cruise in May, and I'm going to Alaska to fish again at the end of July in a resort that I used to own.
Yeah.
Prior to 2008. So
Yeah.
I'm not one for traveling much. I've done a lot of traveling, but one thing I learned that when you decide you're going to retire, you better be asking yourself, then what? Because
Yeah.
what you've been doing, what you've been spending your time on all your life is what drives you. It's working, it's making things happen. And then you retire and you don't have anything happen. Everyone needs something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you're working, it's usually some part of your job. The rest of the time, you're just trying to kill time and pretend like you really want to do whatever you want to do. Take a cruise, for example. If I wasn't married, when I did take a cruise, I'd burn sure take a pile of work with me.
Sit on the cruise ship and work the whole time.
Yeah, that's what I usually do.
Yep. Well, I mean, you know, I what you just were talking about, I mean, because I feel the same way as you, that I have no desire to retire whatsoever. My brother, on the other hand, he's an engineer. He's been engineering for years, and he's looking forward to his retirement pretty soon.
Of course,
And
he
he's
hadn't had any
planning.
fun in his entire life. He's what we call a thinker brain.
Yeah. Yep. He is, and he's really excited about retirement because in his mind, he's going to now finally start living life the way he really wants to. That's what he thinks,
Right. Yeah.
And maybe he will, and I'm really happy for him. But and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to retire. I get too much. Ron, look at you. Like you said at the very beginning of this conversation, you're still doing teachings 8 times a year because you love doing it.
Don't do it, probably can't do it anymore.
Yeah. And man, there is just something to be said for that, because that's totally how I feel about my thing too. Is like, I'm going to keep on doing it until I cannot do it anymore, and yeah. So, for anybody that's listening to this, I mean, because I know my background, I mean, I came out, you mentioned Alaska. I used to work for 7 years. I worked as a commercial fisherman in Alaska on the Bering Sea. And I'll tell you, you want to talk about hard work, man, oh man. And when I was a kid, my dad, well, he used to be an Alaska fisherman in the 60s. And he would tell me, he's like, Kev, the harder you work, the more successful you'll be. And that was his best advice, Ron. That was what he knew to be true, but you and I know better than that. But coming out of that, where I remember when my dad passed away when I was only 16, but when I started fishing in Alaska and I'm on that boat and I'm working my tail off, I'm like, man, Dad, I hope you can see me now, because man, you're right. This is some hard work,
Yeah, I watched every episode of Deadliest Catch.
Did you? Yeah. So, what would you say? Because I know there's people listening to this right now, and maybe they're even entrepreneurs too, and maybe they've even got a business where, man, it is like nose to the grindstone all the dang time, And what would you say to that person that, like, because we know it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah. I try to tell people all the time that, Kevin, and of course, some of them you're never going to get through to. I look at all the restaurant owners where I go eat. Business is their life. They're there all the time. They feel like if they go away, they might as well close. And that's just the attitude that we were grown up with.
Yeah.
And it's hard to turn loose. So I turned loose of the little things first, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And to the point to where now I don't want to do anything. I delegate everything that comes at me, almost everything. And I ain't never going back.
Mm-hmm.
Never going back. I even got a book called "The Less I Do, the More I Make." It's on Amazon. The less I do, the more I make. And that's what it's all about. So I see businesses of all types. all kinds of products and services. They seem like they're all the same. And of course, a lot of them come to me when they hear I can get them out of that job they got. They come to me to figure out. And it's true because frankly, real estate is a part-time business with a full-time income. Once you learn to delegate and systemize and get out of your own way. The enemy is here. It is us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amen to that for sure. Yeah. I can attest to that because I stood in my own way for a while,
Oh,
until
God.
I started finally figuring it out. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Okay, I can actually do this stuff. You know?
We're macho men, man. We're macho men. If it's working perfectly, we have to fix it.
Yeah,
That's what
right.
we do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, Ron, I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation today. And for anybody listening to this, that's like, man, Kevin, I really like Ron. I'm really resonating with some of the stuff that he shared. What any websites, any resources that we can
Yeah,
share with them?
Kevin, I got resources to keep folks busy till they're pushing 100. Our website is ronlegrand.com,
Okay.
LEGRAND.com. Then if you want about an hour seminar on the terms business, which is my favorite, go to ronlegrand.com/terms, and you'll see me all over YouTube. You'll see me all over most of the website. I'm even on TikTok, depending on that. Now, so
Wow.
yeah. So go to ronlegrand.com/terms, and you'll see what it is that we do and how we do it, and how we can buy all the property you want without using money or credit.
Very good. Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. And Ron, any last thing you feel led to share before we call it a wrap today?
Well, I want everybody to go to my podcast,
Okay.
the mentorpodcast.com, free, plays every Wednesday, and there's an archive of 200 or 300 of them up there you can grab on too if you want to.
Very good. Very good. TheMentorPodcast.com. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, I'll make sure we include that with the show notes too. Ron, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. It was so awesome catching up with you. And like I said, when doing that interview with Jay, I'm just, you just never know how somebody's going to impact your life. And all those years ago, investing in your speakers and promoters boot camp and launching that business. The very first time I ever spoke in public. This is the same source as how I met Dan Kennedy was through Joe Polish, because back then at that time I had a carpet cleaning and restoration company.
Yeah.
I went to a Joe Polish seminar. I invested in getting his help and stuff. And Dan Kennedy spoke at Joe's seminar. And so from there, I invested in magnetic marketing. And then I was getting Dan's monthly newsletter, and that's how I ended up at his seminar in 1999. And Joe was at that seminar too. And when
Joe
Joe,
was with me most of the years that we were in this Platinum Minnesota.
well, okay, all right. And Joe was totally shocked to see me at Dan's seminar. And he was like, Kevin, you are the first carpet cleaner who's ever made it to a Dan Kennedy seminar.
No kidding.
And then I had at that seminar, I also met Yannick Silver and
Oh, yeah.
Perry Marshall at that same seminar.
No,
And
both of them.
and Yannick had just come out with the instant sales letters product that he was selling online. And like I hadn't done a thing online, but through meeting those guys, I thought, well, gosh, maybe I could start doing some stuff online. And I started this ugliest website ever called Get Mold Solutions. And it was an extension of my cleaning company. And we got that website to where it was making 15,000 a month or so. And in 2003, Joe called me in the spring and said, hey, why don't you come down here and speak at the annual event for the industry and show everybody what you're doing with your website? And I'm like, okay. And he's like, and before you come, be sure to document what you do and how you do it and put it into a course, because a certain percentage of the folks are going to want your help, and just make sure you're ready to give it to them. And so Joe and I had made that arrangement. And like that's when I was like, man, I got to figure this out. I don't even know. I've never spoken public in my life. And that's what caused me to invest in the speakers and promoters boot camp. I'm like, I got to figure out what I'm going to say. and so, but Ron, I sold $35,000 at that very first seminar of Joe's. And
Yeah,
that lit a fire under me. And I'm like, oh, that felt so amazing. I'm like, I want to do more of this, you know?
I
It's
have a very similar story. I spoke on Robert Allen's and Marco Harrelson's convention stage in '87. They were both doing convention type things back then. And that was my first exposure. I had a stack of courses like this. There was nothing more than 1 day seminars I taped, with the book. They were ugly. And that lit the fire on me as well. And been speaking ever since that.
yeah, yeah. That's man. And how awesome is it that we just, get to keep on doing what we do until, like you said, until we just can't do it anymore, you know? And, well, it was such an honor to catch up with you and to have this conversation after all these years, Ron. I mean, and thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to get this out there. So thank
My
you
pleasure,
again.
my pleasure, Kevin. I always like speaking in front of good folks like you.
Well, you bet.